Game time, we diving deep. From the stairs to the play, no time for sleep. Below the surface, we're working, we set the scene. Who's your host? Scott Levine. Below the surface.
Welcome back to Below the Surface, episode 14. We're talking Sunday NFL slate, fantasy advice, betting angles. I'm joined today by my brother Matt. For those who don't know, he used to have a channel himself, and trust me, the kid knows his stuff. Something new and exciting on this episode, Matt and I will be giving out 2 joint touchdown parlays at the end, and one of them will be a long shot, so we'll see how that goes. Before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of breakdown, and check out my socials, Below the Surface FF. It really helps the channel grow. Appreciate you guys. Let's get into a quick Thursday night recap. Let's start with Thursday night Bengals-Steelers. Want to give your thoughts on that crazy game? Epic finish.
Yeah, what a crazy game we saw between Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers, just absolutely dueling it out. Just to see those two old heads just slinging the ball, it just shows that in this modern NFL, if you can get the ball out quick and you've got weapons, that you can still make it work. And I know a couple weeks ago we touched on my T. Higgins for Devontae Smith trade.
Yes, sir.
I was counting on the Bengals making a change from Jake Browning because they were going to be alive in the division. They did that. They got Joe Flacco. He's known for slinging the rock. We saw it last night. Unfortunately, I had to go against Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins did his thing, and I'm encouraged going forward.
Yes, sir. I have T. Higgins on my Dynasty roster. It's great to see a big night, and Joe Flacco looked great. I made a post for my TikTok last night before the game, giving out a bet for you guys. And the 3 long shots that I dropped on TikTok all hit. And we were this close on our parlay. DK Metcalf, we missed by 1 leg, 10 yards shy. But still, for me personally, I made a bet. And T. Higgins came through on that final cashed my big parlay of the night, 50 to win $2,850. So not a bad way to kick off the weekend. Not at all, yeah. So let's kick off with the first game on the board and break down where the edges are, both for fantasy and betting. The NFL is really leaning into global expansion this year, Matt, and we've got another London game, Rams versus Jags. And London has become the Jags' home away from home. This one's going to be an early wake-up call, so West Coast fans, 6:30 a.m. kickoff. For the Rams, Puka Nacua, he's been ruled out, and Tyler Higbee didn't practice today, which means bigger roles are coming for Kyren Williams and Devontae Adams. Also, I wanted to shout out and told you to keep an eye on Jordan Whittington as a sneaky name to watch, and Tutu Atwell is also expected to return, and he could see an expanded role as well. And then on the defensive side, if Devin Lloyd can't go for Jacksonville, that's a big boost for the Rams' intermediate passing game as well. Let's dive right into this game. What are some of the angles you'd like to attack with this London game? The Jags' second home.
Yeah, the home away from home for the Jags. This is a big spot for them. I mean, they're coming off a tough loss. They were 4-1, and now you're getting a Rams team. They are missing Puka Nacua, so that helps them a lot. But if you lose this game, all of a sudden you're 4-3. The Colts could separate themselves, and the Texans are 2-3 now. So this is a big spot for Jacksonville if they want to stay in the playoff hunt. Obviously, for the Rams, without, it's probably just going to be mostly Devontae and those 2 guys you named. They should get a good role too.
Yeah, we'll see if Sean McVay can get creative. But for the Rams defense, they have actually been very beatable through the air. They're allowing 145 yards per game to opposing wide receivers. And some notable stat lines I have here against them. Kendrick Bourne, 10 for 142 yards. A.J. Brown, 6 for 109 and a touchdown. He hasn't done much this season. And Adonai Mitchell, he went 3 for 96, and he even fumbled crossing the goal line. And then even guys like Calvin Ridley and Alec Ayamanor both hit the 50-plus mark. So I'm looking at Travis Hunter to finally get it going this week. And Brian Thomas Jr. has quietly strung together strong outings, including 10 targets and a touchdown last week. Love to see that momentum. And don't overthink it. Travis Etienne, he's a starter, no doubt. I especially like him out of the backfield. So some props I like. Travis Hunter, 40-plus receiving yards. And Travis Etienne, 15-plus receiving yards. Any bets that stood out to you, Matt?
Yeah, Devontae Adams, I really like him. I'm all over him this week. I just feel like he's due for such a huge role with Puka out. And we saw that last year when he's in that number 1 role, he can still get fed. I do like Travis Hunter. I hope he can finally get that big breakout game. We saw the big catch 2 weeks ago on prime time, but he really hasn't put together that impressive of a game. So it'll be nice to see one in London in a standalone spot.
Let's head right into our 1 o'clock slate. We got a nice little narrative here. Next up, Saints versus Bears and Caleb Williams versus Spencer Rattler. Remember back in college, Rattler was talked about as the next big thing. Mox is the future first overall pick. But as a freshman, Caleb comes in, ripped off that long touchdown run and never looked back. Fast forward, Spencer has to transfer out and Caleb goes on to be the Heisman and number 1 overall pick. And then Rattler's now trying to prove himself as a starter in this league. He was a 5th round pick for the Saints. So it's kind of a full circle moment, them two getting to face off in the NFL. And the Bears are currently on a 3-game winning streak. And last week was the DeAndre Swift show. But this week's matchup is a lot tougher. The Saints are top 10 against the run according to PFF's grading. We'll see if he can keep up the same kind of efficiency. Another quick news hitter, DJ Moore is expected to play despite the groin injury. So we'll see how he can do it in this game. Matt, where do you want to go here first in this Rattler versus Caleb matchup?
Yeah, I'll touch on the QB duel because those are both our guys, Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler. I would love to see Spencer get his revenge on Caleb. Like, that would be a good full circle moment for him, but I would also see Caleb continue this streak and actually solidify the Bears as like a real playoff contender. That would be really nice to see. I'm going to go with my guy I've been on in the preseason. I'm waiting for the breakout. I think this week might be it. Colston Loveland. Think in week 3, they were trying to get him going. He had that 31-yard catch off the rip. He got hurt. Then they go into the bye. You're coming out. You're playing the Commanders. That's a really important game. You're not really focusing on getting Colston Loveland touches in that one. But now you're in a spot at home against the Saints. We saw Theo Johnson light them up. Even Daniel Bellinger was getting going. Kincaid cooked them. Hunter Henry didn't do much last week, but I still think this is a good spot for Colston Loveland to see some action and finally make a splash debut.
Both these defenses are kind of middle of the pack, and it could be more of a balanced field position kind of game. I just want to quickly note the weather. It's supposed to be a little bit of a windy day in Chicago, so we'll see if that affects the deep passing game. So maybe he'll like Colston Loveland kind of short. But if you're looking for fantasy angles, Rome Odunze, he's my favorite play for the Bears side. The Saints typically run single high, so that kind of favors him in this matchup. So for props, I like his over receiving yards and over reception, 63.5 and 4.5. All these props you can tease up or down. I don't mind either way. I like his line, and I think Chris Olave can keep his target share steady in this game as well. I like him to remain involved.
Yeah, Spencer's definitely been feeding him.
Yes, sir. Let's move into this next game. We got Cleveland versus Miami, and this one's shaping up to be an ugly, low-scoring grind based on the Vegas projected totals. And also, we're expected to get heavy rain and strong winds in this one as well. I wanted to mention that. So I think that's a big reason as why the total is where it is. Let's start with the Browns. This is a Quinshon Judkins game all the way. Fire him up. Miami has been bleeding yards to the running back, and we just saw Kamani Vidal last week put up over 100 yards, and then the week before that, it was Rico Dowdle going for 200 total yards. So absolute running back dream matchup right here, and Quinshon Judkins has looked great. And then Jerry Jeudy, he saw 13 targets last week, so if you need like a PPR play, that's not the worst, even though it is supposed to be a rainy game. And then David Njoku was ruled out again, so Harold Fannin, boost to him. On Miami's side, HN, he scored 5 out of 6 games. But this is a more tougher matchup just because the Browns are top in points defended against the running backs. They give up the least to the running back, so that's tougher for HN in this matchup. What are some of the things that stand out to you in this rainy, kind of gross game?
Yeah, this is definitely not the most ideal game that you could ask for, but there are some things to look at. I think Jalen Waddle and Jerry Jeudy, they've both been in trade talks, and I feel like whenever you have guys like that, you try and get them feature, boost them up a little, make sure that teams like them. So I could see, I mean, he got 13 targets last week, so you can't get much more than that. But they're going to continue to feed Jerry Jeudy, get his value up. It hasn't been that great of a season for him. I also like Harold Fannin without Njoku. He's been a safety, reliable option for Dylan Gabriel. And then, yeah, they're just going to feature the offense around Devon and Waddle.
Yeah, the Browns' defense has been particularly susceptible to the wide receivers in the touchdown area, actually. And Darren Waller as well, I wanted to bring him up. He's hit the end zone 4 times in his last 3 games.
They've been feeding him.
He saw his largest snap share. He's been a decent play, and you could start him at the tight end again, despite having a low yardage last week. My prop in this game that I like, Quinshon Judkins, 90-plus rushing yards, and the Browns, I think can win this game, being a 3-point favorite in a weird environment. All right, this next game, another fun narrative we got. Patriots versus Titans. Mike Vrabel versus his old team. You know he wants this one, and honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he tries to run it up a bit. But let's start with the Titans. This defense has been gashed by running backs. Top 5 in rushing attempts and yards allowed, and they've given up the most rushing touchdowns to the position. And also some news I have, Calvin Ridley has been ruled out, so that means bumps to Alec Ayam and Chigakonkwo and Tajay Spears. And then, Matt, do you want to touch on New England's offense and what they might be able to exploit on this side of the ball with their running back game?
Yeah, you know how I feel about the Tennessee Titans run defense. I've been targeting them all season long. And I think either we're going to get the Travion breakout or it's just going to be a Ramondre great game. One of the two is going to happen. Maybe we see a nice 1-2 punch, but I definitely think they're going to expose that run defense. It is, as you said, a big narrative game. The Patriots are riding high off a win streak. They're going at Tennessee. Mike Vrabel obviously wants to get this one. You're getting the head coach bump without...
Got to mention the head coach. They fired Bill Callahan, their head coach in Tennessee.
Yeah, and he's just not, he was one of the worst coaches I've seen. Yes. So this might be an extra big bump that you're getting. So it's just a little bit of a shaky spot for the Patriots. There's going to be they're going to be hyped up for this one.
Yeah, you don't want to see them get off to a slow start with all this big hype leading in.
Yeah, exactly.
Big spread as well.
Yeah.
But props I like over Ramondre 12.5 carries. I think if they get a lead and this is the game script that the Patriots want, I think he'll be touting the ball a lot. And then Ramondre to get in the end zone. And then I also like, as a little contrarian play, Travion Henderson over 13.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, you mentioned him, but I want to shout out Tajay Spears. It was his second game back, but it was his real first game of action. He went for 5 for 31 and 4 for 19, so those are good numbers, and I think he could have a little good game.
Yeah, with the buys to big teams, like the Ravens and the Bills on bye, if you have to get Tajay in your lineup, not the worst.
Yeah, Pollard hasn't been great this season, so if he got something going, he could take that job.
All right, let's move into our next game, a divisional AFC West showdown. We've got Raiders versus Chiefs, and this one is the biggest spread of the week. Kansas City favored by 11.5 with a money line sitting at minus 850, which might be the largest we see all season. The Chiefs just dismantled the Lions last week, and they look like that team again, the one nobody wants to face in December and January. So for the first time this year, we got some good news. We finally get Fahrenheit 451 now. That's Marquise Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy, if you don't know. They have not been able to start one single game. They've been together since the start of last season, and this is the first game we'll get to see them together. Matt, Patrick Mahomes, QB1, getting Rashee Rice back. You have Patrick Mahomes. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I'm expecting the full-blow light show. We've been waiting for this, like you said, for about 2 years now. That wide receiver trio, you can feel the chemistry from those guys. And they do everything. Like Marquise Brown is deep threat, Xavier Worthy. They all do it all. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to light it up in this one. They've been waiting for this so long. The spread is justified. It's time, Pat. I mean, he's already been cooking all season long, but now you just add Rashee into the mix against such a weak defense. It's just a perfect matchup for him to come back.
And on the Raiders side, Brock Bowers, he'll likely miss another week. He's doubtful right now, but Michael Mayer, he's been one of the bright spots in this Raiders offense, and he's a viable fantasy player if he is ruled out. And then Genty's looked awesome, especially since changing to his signature Michael Myers stance from college, and he's running hard and bringing real juice. It's a big divisional game, and while the Chiefs are heavy favorites, the Raiders typically keep these games close. For the money line, I don't think it's worth betting straight up, but if you really want exposure, maybe tease the Raiders side up a little bit to maybe like plus 17.5 or something. And then here's a fun stat I found. Kareem Hunt has scored a touchdown in week 7 every year since 2022. 5 total, by the way. So do with that what you will.
So you can keep that going.
Yeah, maybe. And my picks, I just think his line is just absurdly low this week because Bryce is back. Xavier Worthy, 40-plus receiving yards and an anytime touchdown is some of the props that I really like. Any last props that you want to give out or last thoughts?
Yeah, I touched on it with Jalen Waddle and Jerry Jeudy, but another guy that's been in trade rumors, Jacoby Myers. I think you finally got to get him going. Brock Bowers has been out. Maybe he can finally get some targets and some production this year.
And yeah, lastly, before we go, Rashee Rice, fire him up in your starting lineup. You waited this long, get him in there. Even if he goes for just 6 for 70, that's fine. He'll be fine eventually. And he might not get the touchdown you want, but he'll be a good player going forward. Now let's get right into our next game. This is a big matchup, and it's got a nice little funny narrative again as well. Carson Wentz getting the start versus the Eagles. The Vikings taking on the Eagles at home. And taking on his former team, J.J. McCarthy, he's going to miss another week. And Philly's coming off a tough, deflating loss.
Yes,
New York Giants. Yes, sir. So you have to wonder if this might turn into a skid. These past 2 weeks for Minnesota, though, their run defense has been absolutely shredded. Saquon Barkley, he's in a massive get-right spot. Some notable performances against this Vikings defense over the last 2 weeks. Judkins ran for 110 and hit a 50-yard touchdown call back due to holding. And Kenny Gainwell ran for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. So if not this week for Saquon, then when? And then the Eagles are also road favorites, so I expect it to be a more run-heavy game script, and the Vikings have a great pass defense. In this game, also for the Vikings, Wentz is averaging 253 passing yards. This gives a slight boost to Addison and Jefferson. All right, Matt, where do you think the Vikings should attack this Eagles defense best?
I mean, you got to attack their secondary. We saw how weak they looked against the Giants. They are getting Quinton Mitchell and Jalen Carter, so that helps the pass rush. But this is a huge spot for the Eagles. I mean, both teams are coming off extended rest, but you don't want to drop 3 straight in a row. And, they haven't really played a great football game from start to finish all year. So, I just feel like I kind of like the Vikings. They're home dogs, and I don't think either are a great football team right now. So the underdogs at home, that just makes me want to lean with them. Carson Wentz is going to be eager to light up this Eagles team. He said it feels like a couple lifetimes ago, but once he's out there, I think he's going to want to cook, and he has Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. So Quinton Mitchell can't guard both of those guys, and whoever's getting Keely Ringo or Adoree Jackson should just have an absolute field day. And that's probably going to be Addison. But
Exactly, and speaking of Addison, yeah, I like his matchup with the secondary cornerback if Quinshawn is going to shadow, which I think is probably likely. So 40-plus receiving yards for Addison I like, and like I mentioned, if not this game for Saquon, when, so 70-plus rushing yards and maybe sprinkle in his touchdown this week.
We were saying that against the Giants, and it didn't happen, so maybe it's just
I
not
wasn't,
the year.
I wasn't really, yeah, that's true. That is true. But they have been gashed. All right, let's get right into this next game, Jets versus Panthers. Panthers going to New York to take on the winless Jets. And some news for this game, no Garrett Wilson in this game. And also, Chuba Hubbard is returning, and Jalen Coker is also returning.
Sure, Jalen Coker.
For the Carolina Panthers. I was a big Jalen Coker fan and was touting him up this offseason, so it's good to see him back in the lineup. So, Matt, where do you want to start with this game right here? Fun little matchup.
Yeah, I'll start with the man, the myth, the legend, Rico Dowdle. They said they made their running back decision internally and they're not leaking it to the public. If they didn't go with Rico Dowdle, I don't know what they're doing. What more do you have to see from the man? I love his touchdown. They're sleeping on him at plus odds. I can't imagine he's not the guy they go to. This Jets defense has been gashed in the run all year long. So I'm firing up Rico and hoping they make the right choice. I love to see Jalen Coker back because we're on the Bryce Young train. And
yes, sir.
That's actually, as much as I love Xavier Legette, that's a real weapon, I think, in the NFL. So he should be able to make a difference. And on the Jets side, no Garrett. So expect a lot of Breece Hall, Mason Taylor. We'll see if Reynolds or Lazard could do anything. Yeah. And quietly, Isaiah Davis, maybe.
Interesting.
Get some touches.
On the ground, I think Breece is their one constant because he's seen 14 and 22 carries in the last 2 games. And with no Garrett, the volume should stay very heavy. And the Panthers, they're pretty soft against the tight end. So if they're in garbage time, I expect Mason Taylor to be able to eat if he's not going early. I think he's going to redeem himself after last week, and you can play him as your tight end this week. And then, like Matt said, Josh Reynolds, I think he's going to step into the wide receiver 1 role, but I'm expecting a run-heavy game plan. And then for the Panthers, Rico Dowdle, yeah, I was on him as well. Rico Dowdle, I like his rushing yards, 60-plus rushing yards in this game. That's his line somehow. And I like his touchdown as well. I'd sprinkle it. And
they're hedging the Chuba Hubbard bet, so I feel like you got to take advantage.
I do kind of like a Chuba Hubbard touchdown just because it's like a weird, it's just like, it's one of those things that randomly would happen. After Dowdle
they should be up a lot, and he's a good player. He'll get on the field.
And then in this Navy-style Jets offense, I do like Breece Hall's over 16.5 rushing attempts, which is his line for the game. I'm going to go with the Panthers. They're favored, and they've covered the spread well this year. They've been good. for Vegas betting, and I just really like the Panthers in this spot. They're going against a winless team, and they're a 3-3 team at this moment. I know they're winless on the road, but the Jets are winless at home. That'll take us right into our 4 o'clock slate, and the first game we're going to start with is our New York Giants going to Denver. The Giants have just not been good on the road, but there has been a lot of trash talk between these two teams. Benito and Cooper have been chirping. And John Cooper, one of their edges, Jackson Dart, was talking about how he's dancing too much and wearing his chains and such. Abdul Carter even posted about it and said, get your 3D glasses ready. The Giants are coming off their best game in years after beating Philly, but they'll be without Darius Slayton again in this one. For the Giants, this is a tough road game for sure. A lot of high energy and momentum coming off, but this is a typical letdown spot for us if you know our history. Both of these teams run a lot of man coverage, which sets up for some narrative plays. In this game, we're going to have Lil Jordan Humphrey getting a lot of snaps again, and this is a bit of a revenge game for him. Maybe he can get back at Sean Payton for letting him go. He was on the team with Russell Wilson, caught a touchdown in that first game with that Hackett team, and he was there the next year with Payton as well. Lil Jordan and Russell Wilson maybe can inspire some energy. And then for the Denver side, it's Demaryius Thomas Day. So maybe it's a little bit of emotional in there, and they come out with a little extra energy for that. And Cortland Sutton, he speaks very highly of him often. So he's in a great bounce back spot, and the Giants play a lot of man. And this season, after he's had a dud, he's been great. All right. What do you think about the Giants in this spot? It's a tough matchup, but Jackson Dart coming off a huge win.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can keep it rolling. The fan in me wants to see that happen. I mean, this is arguably the biggest game for the Giants. You said last game was our best game we've seen in years. This might be the biggest game since we lost 40-0 to the Cowboys because there was some expectation heading into the season. But since that, there's really been no chance like this to actually make a real turning point. And we saw how bad Denver looked last game. Now we have all this trash talk coming out of nowhere. I'm just hoping that Andrew Thomas, he's literally the most impactful player on the Giants. If there's one player that affects winning the most, it's that guy. And I'm hoping he can hold down that edge. And Nick Bino's had a great start to the season, but I just stick up for us fans, Andrew Thomas, and show him what's up.
Yeah, he's good. He's going to be lined up wide a lot and trying to get those quick rushes around the edge. He's a real fast guy. But yeah, bringing up that Broncos-Jets game real quick again. Wow, that was one of the worst performances I've ever seen on offense by the Jets. Both teams, but horrible game to watch. Tough scene for the London fans. But yeah, this game for the Giants run defense, they are pretty terrible against gap run scheme, and they have been the Broncos run gap at the 6th most frequent rate. And so I like J.K. Dobbins over 60 rushing yards in this game. He's in a good spot, so I like that prop. For the money line, I'm not really going to make a pick just because of bias. I can't go with Denver, even though I like them. And I kind of like the Giants spread a little bit. All right, let's head into that next game, Matt. We got one of the more exciting games on the slate, in my opinion. I think this could be a high-scoring game, and that's the Colts versus the Chargers. I like it for both betting and fantasy. Josh Downs, he's out with a concussion in this game for some news. And Quentin Johnston making a return with a hamstring, no longer on the injury report. And then on the defensive side of the ball for the Colts, Charvarius Ward is ruled out. He's been their best cornerback, in my opinion. So I think that honestly lines up perfectly with QJ coming back. I think he's in line for a good matchup due to that. Also, fire up Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and Tyler Warren. No downs means Warren, I think, will get the biggest bump. He's been the go-to chain mover, and maybe we'll even get some extra red zone work as well. And then Alec Pearson, Daniel Jones are sneaky touchdown bets if you're chasing upside. With QJ back, I still like Vidal as a strong start in this game. And then the props I like, Warren receiving yards, Quentin Johnston receiving yards, and sprinkle their touchdowns. All right, that was a lot. Matt, where do you want to start with this game?
Yeah, I'm right there with you on my boy Quentin Johnston with Charvarius Ward out. I'm hoping he can take advantage out. I was worried about the hamstring injury, but he was fully practicing at least Thursday and limited on Wednesday, so he looks like he's ready to go. And when he's out there, that dude scores touchdowns, so that's what I'm counting on. The last time the Chargers were in a big spot like this, I thought against the Commanders, they completely laid an egg. I was hyping them up in that game.
For sure.
And since that, I mean, I don't think people really do view them as the same contenders lens. And there's a chance to kind of redeem that right here at home against the Indianapolis Colts, who've been on fire to start the season. You're without your offensive line. So if you can steal a win here, you get back on track. You're 5-2, and people are looking at the Chargers as more on the upswing again.
Yeah, absolutely. But I honestly do like the value on the Colts money line at plus value.
With that being said, no Joe All. Just think
no
they're the better
All.
team in general.
Yeah, they've been playing really good football, the Colts. Definitely got to give it to them. I had given out the Raiders when they smacked them, and they've just changed my opinion on them as they continue to have good wins.
Yeah, and I also like the Alec Pierce touchdown a lot. He's been really involved in this offense, and when you got your other receivers that you're relying on are going to be AD and Laquan Treadwell, they're really not going to be getting on the field, so it's going to be a lot of him and Michael Pittman, and
absolutely,
I think he's got a chance to score because that's what he does.
Yes, sir. All right. Let's get into this next game. The highest over-under total on the entire slate, and lots of news in this one. Commanders versus Dallas. Dallas at home in this one, and CeeDee Lamb making his return, while Terry McLaurin remains out. And Deebo Samuel, he's dealing with a heel injury, talking about how it's still a little aggravated right now. And that might open up targets for Zach Ertz, Jalen Lane, and Luke McCaffrey. For Dallas, big spot in this one with all the injuries, and we'll see if the light show keeps up like Vegas expects. And just real quickly on some defensive statistics for this game, it does really have fireworks written all over it. Both teams are top 7 in scoring offense. Dallas allows a ton of yards, and Washington's defense hasn't stopped anyone through the air as well anyway. So this one sets up great for Dak Prescott and Jaden Daniels. Matt, what do you think about this potential high-flying affair that we got?
Yeah, you touched on all the injuries. I don't know how you didn't mention our guy, Bill Krusky Merritt. This has got to be a big game from him.
Sir, Bill.
Another guy that I recently traded for. He had that huge game against the Chargers. I thought we were here. He obviously comes up, follows that up. You know it's going to be a dud. He has the fumble. But it's okay. You're getting the Dallas Cowboys. You just saw what Rico Dowdle did to him. All the injuries. You got to hope that he's heavily involved in the offensive game plan this week. So I'm counting on a big week from Bill. And this is not even like anything this is doing with the players playing, but how crazy. We get all these injuries on the Commanders' side of the ball, and Zach Ertz just managed to stay Mr. Reliable and keep Ben Sinnott just parked on the bench like the kid can't get a break.
Yeah, really. Ben Sinnott just wasted second-round pick, it seems.
Yeah, just sitting behind Zach Ertz.
But who knows? Maybe all this tutelage.
Yeah.
The props I do like in this game are Dak, 250 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. And I think that the Cowboys, with all the injuries, can get it done at home with CeeDee Lamb coming back. And I kind of also do like Javonte a bit in this game, despite the Commanders being solid against the run. Now, this final 4 o'clock game that we're going to get into also got some injuries going on as well that are worth monitoring. Packers versus Cardinals. Cardinals at home, and they might be missing Kyler Murray again for the second straight game. But Jacoby Brissett, he looked really good.
Yeah, I thought Jacoby was an upgrade. You know how I've talked down on Kyler Murray since I've had him in fantasy last season.
Yeah, you have. Brissett threw for 320 yards and 2 touchdowns last week, and that's something Kyler hasn't done since 2022, I believe, which is just
that's
crazy.
like the last time we've seen that good version of Kyler Murray, so...
Yeah, also some more news. Josh Jacobs, I saw from Underdog NFL. He's dealing with a calf injury going into Sunday and has also got an illness, so he's worth monitoring heading into this game. And Matthew Golden, he's a name I love here. Against 2 high shells, he's been excellent. The Cardinals run it at the 7th highest rate per fantasy points data, so expect more volume his way this game. And then Marv cleared concussion protocol, so that'll be a boost for this offense. And then the Packers haven't been great against the tight end, so Trey McBride with a plus matchup. For the prop I like, Matthew Golden.
I like Matthew Golden a lot too. You just see the trend every single week. Like, you just got to feel like he's due to have that big, just get in the end zone, kid.
I really think you could sprinkle his touchdown this. So that could be a really interesting game, honestly.
You never know what you're going to get from either of those teams, honestly. Yeah, knowing that game, it'll be like somehow a 1-score game and someone's going to throw a pick at the end.
Yeah, and DeMarcado is out, so Bam Knight and Michael Carter, they'll have the major roles in this backfield.
Baby, fire them up.
Maybe if you have to. All right, let's get into our 8 o'clock game, our final game. It just seems to be the theme of every week now with this 49ers. Injuries all over the place. But George Kittle, big news, finally returning. We'll see if he's more of a decoy or he's back to his full workload.
He said he tore his hamstring in week 1 and now he's fully healthy. So we'll see what he's...
Yeah, I mean, he's a crazy guy. Ricky Pearsall remains out and Jawan has every injury known to man.
Jawan. Why are you playing with 5 broken ribs? Or how is that not being reported? We have all these insiders and you can't tell me this guy's got 5 broken... I don't know if he's exaggerating, but still.
Brock Purdy going to be out. They haven't really had their full starting allotment of weapons this whole season. So it'll be Mac Jones again leading the charge, and CMC continues to defy logic. He's on pace for 1,200 receiving yards, which is absurd for a running back.
It hasn't really mattered with CMC cooking and Kendrick filling in the way he has to this point.
Kendrick Bourne, great name to bring up. Like I said earlier, he had a 10-catch game. He's been cooking in this offense with all the injuries. And on the other side of the ball, an incredible win, an incredible Monday night, right? It was Monday night.
Yeah, Bills.
Falcons beating out the Bills.
In control from start to finish.
Absolutely. Masterclass from their star players, Bijan and Drake London. Bijan's just going to follow up on his performance and continue to be heavily relied on. Ever since Zach Robinson has moved from the booth down to the field, it's been get his star weapons the ball ASAP and often. So they'll be looking to lean on winning through the air against this weaker defense. And I also do like Christian McCaffrey receiving yards in this one as well, 40-plus receiving yards. Do you have a read on who you think might win this one, or any last thoughts?
Yeah, it's hard not to think that Bijan Robinson and Drake London continue to thrive, as Zach Robinson has just been feeding those guys, and they're excellent players, so why wouldn't you? I mean, this is a huge game for the Falcons. I was on the Falcons against the Bills because it just feels like that's just a game that the Falcons win, and now you're at home against the Niners, and this is a game that the Falcons lose.
Oh, no, they're on the road.
But either way, it's an injured 49ers. This just feels like now people are on the Falcons, and this is when they lose a game. So I'm hoping that for their sake and Falcons fans, they've been through enough that this can actually be the year where they can string together a big win and then follow it up. You're the better team, I think, in this spot.
Yeah, and this is a big game for Michael Penix, honestly. He could really make his mark on the league in this game. They're plus 2.5 in this game against the spread. I kind of like that. That does stick out as a bit of a value. And another high points total in this game. So start your Falcons and 49ers in this one.
I don't think the 49ers are going to win the division, and the Bucs are probably going to win the division. So these two are going to be battling it out for that wild card spot. So this could be a huge game later in the season.
A huge tiebreaker potentially. All right, well, that's the last game in the slate, so it wraps up our Sunday slate breakdown. And if you're still watching, make sure to drop a like and comment your favorite prop or long shot. Up next, Matt and I are going to give our 2 touchdown parlays, 1 safer and 1 long shot to close out the show. So let's get right into it, Matt, and dive in. We'll start with our touchdown picks that we like. I'll go first here. Quinshon Judkins, he's one of my favorite touchdown bets on this slate. The matchup against Miami is just an incredible one, and if he doesn't score, I'm honestly shocked. It's pretty good odds, only minus 125, minus 115 on certain books. All right, Matt, what's your first touchdown player?
My first touchdown player, first game of the day, also minus 125. I just can't imagine Devontae Adams not finding the end zone in this one. You see how much times they targeted him in the red zone. He had 2 chances just absolutely wide open against the Ravens last week. He's going to be the absolute focal point.
Yes,
Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, they know how to feed a guy, and I think he's still got the juice, and he's going to get in the end zone.
All right, so far it's Quinshon Judkins, Devontae Adams. Let's do 2 more, 1 more each, and then maybe we can just give out some of our favorites on the slate before we get into our long shots. Yeah. I'm going to go with my next one, Rico Dowdle.
Yes, sir.
I think that his line is just mispriced. The books are sleeping on Rico Dowdle. They don't know that this kid is legit. I know he had the unbelievable matchups the last 2 weeks, but the Jets have been no better, and he's going to get in the end zone. He's been a superstar, and continue to treat him as such until he shows you otherwise. Rico Dowdle touchdown.
Yeah, we already touched on this guy that I like, Quentin Johnson. The guy scores touchdowns. That's what he does. I feel like they're discounting him. They're thinking that the hamstring injury might be a little more than it is, and they're sleeping on that he's just going to walk back into that role. They don't have the running back game. I mean, Vidal played well, but they're going to rely on the pass, plus 175. I think that's way too much juice to not take for QJ.
I love QJ as well, so some great picks we just gave out. That's a nice little safer touchdown parlay. Just to go through it again, Quinshon Judkins, Devontae Adams, Rico Dowdle, and Quentin Johnston. 4 legs. Well, I'll let you know on the screen what the payout is, and I'll be tailing it. I hope you guys tail with it and it hits. All right, Matt, before we go on to our long shots, let's just give out a few stellar plays that we like for touchdowns. I have a few more that I really liked that I'm not going to include in the parlay, but I just wanted to throw out there some of my favorites on the slate. Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots. In this game script, if they're getting into the red area, I think that they want to utilize him on the goal line. He doesn't care about the fumbles, it seems, and it's a plus odds bet that I'm really behind. And then Roma Dunze, like I mentioned earlier, I love the matchup in this one. DJ Moore coming off the groin, maybe he's not 100%, and I just think that this matchup favors him. And then lastly, Saquon Barkley, I know, but I think he can get in the end zone against this pretty porous Vikings defense. Any final touchdown guys that you like that you want to just name?
Yeah, you mentioned him earlier. Another one of my guys, Xavier Worthy. I think everyone's going to be on the Rashee Rice, and I think he's probably going to score too. So check that one off too. But everyone's going to be on the Rashee Rice, and I just think Xavier Worthy's due for that long touchdown. He hasn't got one yet, and I think it's just going to be a high-scoring game from the Chiefs. I like his odds.
Yes, sir. All right, and now quickly our long shot. We'll both give two options. So for my long shot, the first one I want to give is Travis Hunter. I'm all over him this week. Like I said, I think that he could have a big week, and it's a good spot against the Rams defense. That's not good against the pass, so I expect a big game from Hunter. Hopefully he can get his first touchdown this year. All right, Matt, who do you think as a long shot? Travis Hunter's plus 300.
Yes, sir. I'm going to go with Alec Pierce plus 260. I touched on it earlier. I think it's just a really good spot for him to get in the end zone.
Yes, sir. I had him on my list as well. I like him as a long shot. Another one I want to give out, I'm going to go with Matthew Golden. He is plus 170. What?
I like it a lot.
Yes, sir. He's plus 175 in this one, and I think that this is a good matchup for him, like I said earlier, so sprinkle his touchdown as a long shot. All right, Matt, our last long shot guy, and maybe we can give an honorable mention if you have.
Yeah, I got one honorable mention, but I'm going to go with my guy I got with earlier. I mentioned earlier, I've been waiting on it all year long. Colston Loveland, it's got to be the week. Find the end zone, plus 460. They are sleeping on that boy.
Yes,
sir. Do it to him, Colston.
Yes, sir. So real quickly, I'll recap our long shot parlay. Travis Hunter, plus 300. Matt Golden, plus 175. Alec Pierce, plus 260. And Colston Loveland, as Matt just said, plus 460. Some really nice long shot lays there. And my last honorable mention that I was teetering between was Mason Taylor and Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, I like both of those a lot too. This guy also quite the juice, kind of a hedge on one of my earlier safer touchdowns. It feels like every single time there's an injury in these games, this guy's making a huge play. And Tutu Atwell, you touched on him earlier.
Yes, sir.
I like the little spring, plus 390.
Yeah,
he's been a reliable guy in this offense for a while, and I think they're gonna use him. And he's known for those big plays.
He is, and yeah, I don't hate Jordan Whittington either, but I like his yards more than I would his touchdown. That's a wrap on this week's Sunday NFL slate. We hit fantasy prop picks and betting angles you need. So big thanks to my brother Matt. Always good to get his takes. If you like this episode, like, subscribe, turn on the noties. Let's keep this hot streak rolling. Stay sharp with us and keep going below the surface. Peace.